Okay, we're back. We just finished hooking up the code to make our little search bar that we have in the middle of our navigation actually be a Google search tool. That's very handy. So now we want to create an email link. Email link is very useful. So I'm going to switch back here to, let's go to design view, and maybe we'll do split view. We'll do split view. So we're in split view, so we see both code and design. And this is what I want to change. Over here on the far right hand side there's a word that says link. So right now this is a standard hypertext reference link. It's supposed to link to another page, but we actually want to make this into an email link, which is a whole different animal. So I have my anchor selected in the status bar, and I'm going to hit delete just to delete that. Okay, now it's gone. And we can see that we just have an opening and closing LI tag now for list item. In the upper right hand corner it still says link, but we haven't hit the refresh button yet. So let's see what happens after we hit refresh to refresh the page. Now our link is gone, but our cursor is still inside of my opening and closing LI tag right here. Right? This marks this as a list item. LI, opening LI, and closing LI tag. So what I want to do is I want to insert an email link. And the way I do that is with my cursor right here inside of my opening and closing LI tags. I'm going to go under Insert, and I'm going to choose HTML, and then I'm going to choose Email. An email link is right down here. Okay? And this window opens up, and this is our email link. First is, what is the text that we want to have displayed? And my text is going to be email. It's pretty easy. And then for my email, this is the actual email that's going to be functional. I'm going to type in my faculty email address, jonessw@wlac.edu, and then say OK. And we now have a working email link on this page. I'm going to hit Save All to update all of my pages. And we get our usual message. Do you want to update everything? Well, of course we do. Okay. Now let's go back and let's preview our web page. Let's go back here to Google Chrome. And we've created several different web pages now, right? We've got our home page, gallery. If we click here under more, we've got history, media. We've got links to other pages. Now, if you've been paying attention, you've noticed that regardless of what page we click on, the home icon, right, remains in this black background. Whereas I think it should probably switch to whatever item that we have currently selected. Like if I click on gallery, gallery should have that black background. And if I clicked here under more, maybe more would have the dark background, kind of like it does now, and history would. So that is the way that it should work, but it's not the way that it does work. Why is that? Let's go back to Dreamweaver, and I'll tell you why. Let's go back to Code View, and we're going to scroll up, and let's find that little house. Okay, that's the glyphicon. If I go, and it's right here on this line of code. I'm going to click LI. So this is the code that makes that home view. And if I read what's in this code, it says this is a list item. I'm going left to right. And the class for this list item is active. And then we get the hyperlink. What is it? It's a hyperlink, and it's linking to what? Index.html. That's our home page, right? And then we have the code that's used to make the glyphicon. That's the thing that says class equals glyphicon. You can see how important classes are. You can take nothing, assign it to a class, and now it's a glyphicon. And then that's contained inside of a span. You can see the opening and closing span tags. Now we have another span that says class equals SR only, and then in parentheses it says current. So let me decode some of that for you. When we say class equals active, that means this is the active button in our navigation. That's what class equals active means. This is the active one. Whichever link in our navigation has a class of active, is going to look different than the other ones that are not active. That's how we know something is active. It's assigned to that class active. Okay? Right now, only one thing has the class of active, and it's that first list item or navigation button, and that has a little glyphicon. Now there's that other kind of curious thing that says span class equals SR, then it says current. So decode that. Class equals SR, that is an abbreviation for screen reader. Someone who may be visually impaired, they can't see what's on the screen, and so they use a screen reader. And inside of this span, this opening and closing span, let me separate these out so you can see these a little bit clearer, okay? So we have this is our opening list item tag, right? And then inside of that, we have another span, that's our glyphicon of the little house. And then inside of that, we have the span that is our list item, okay? And then we have our closing anchor, and then we have our closing list item. Okay, just to make this, just to make this a little bit easier to see. So we have our list item, right? And then inside of our list item, we have an anchor. And then inside of our anchor, we have these two items. One of them is a glyphicon, the other one is a screen reader. The folks who created this sample bootstrap navigation bar for us figured that you would be hand coding every single page, but we're not hand coding every single page. We're using Dreamweaver, and we're using a Dreamweaver template, meaning that if we have, of course, 50 pages, Dreamweaver is going to crank out every single page. Now, if you only had maybe 3 pages on your site, you would hand code this class equals active part. So on the first page, home page is active, so you would hand code class equals active. On the second page, you would go to your second link. In our case, it's gallery, right? And you would delete this code that says class equals active. You'd take that off because the glyphicon is no longer the active class. Now, the gallery one is active. And then you would take this code that says span class equals screen reader only. And by the way, this is hidden from us. We don't see this. You would cut that, and then you would paste that over here. This is something that you could... Whoops, I made a mistake when I did that. Let me undo that. I missed my closing anchor, closing tag there, incomplete. Let me cut that and then paste that here. Okay, this would be a lot to do, and you just can't do this for every single page. We're using a Dreamweaver template. It's not going to fly. Do we have another way around this problem? We do, and I'll tell you what it is. So we're just going to completely delete this current screen reader class only, and we're going to completely delete this class of active. What we're going to do is we're going to treat every single list item on our web page as if it was the same. Everybody gets equal treatment now, okay? So there's no difference between one list item and the other. I'm kind of cutting out all that empty white space. So now in our website, every list item is exactly the same. We do not have one thing marked as active, and we don't have anything marked as screen reader. So I'm going to hit refresh, and I'm going to go to my save all, and I'm going to update, and I'm going to close. Now let's go preview this real quick in Chrome so we can see the results. So now nothing. If I click on the home, home looks the same. If I click on gallery, gallery looks the same. If I go under more and go under history, nothing's highlighted. More is highlighted when I've actually clicked on it, but we don't have that black backdrop to whatever the active item is. Now we could leave it this way. This is better than kind of confusing people, or do something even better. We can use jQuery to automatically figure out what page are we on. Are we on the gallery page? Are we on the history page? Are we on the media page? And then based on what page we're actually visiting, then make the appropriate changes to our navigation. And I will give you the jQuery that we need to do that. If we go to our text files, remember our text files? I'm going to double click to open up our text files, and I'm going to go down here to module 3, and I have some JavaScript. It says JavaScript helper for navigation. Now we have never used our little extra JavaScript feature yet, but let's do it now. And you don't really need to know what any of this means. basically JavaScript's going to look to see what page are we visiting, and then it's going to add that class of active class that we need in order to make everything look correct, and it's going to add that class of current so that screen readers will know what we're doing. So this couldn't be any simpler. I'm going to copy this JavaScript. I've highlighted the text. I'm going to right click and choose copy. Now let's go back to my template, and we add our JavaScript at the end of our page. Right? If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see we have these extra JavaScript plugins, or extra JavaScript links. So after this last one, it says include all compiled plugins below or individual files as needed. So I'm going to click here, and this is going to be, for me, I don't know, about line 73. Yours is probably going to be about the same. And now I'm just going to paste in that code that we copied. I'm going to right click and choose paste, and there it is. Alright, I'm trying to keep everything nicely centered and lined up like we had it on the other ones. So this is the JavaScript that I'm adding in. Okay, you can copy this from the text files. You can also get it from the Etudes website. And I'm going to hit refresh, and now I'm going to go choose Save All once more. And it's asked, do we want to update? We sure do. We're going to close, and now we're going to switch back to Chrome, Preview in Chrome, and F5 to refresh. Now, when I click on my home, look, home's got that black background to it, but when I click on gallery, now gallery has the black background. When I click on more and choose history, more remains highlighted, and if I look at my list, now history has a nice colored band to it. If I click on media, again, more stays highlighted, so we know that there's something to look at, and media is highlighted. So, we're using jQuery to do that little bit of code that we weren't quite able to get from Dreamweaver from the Bootstrap template. And I'll just mention this on the way out the door. If you want to learn more about forms, we talked about forms with our little Google search form, then you want to take cs958, that's PHP at West LA College. And if you want to learn more about JavaScript, then you want to take cs962. That's the JavaScript class, and you can learn a little bit more about how to use these neat JavaScript effects. But this is going to wrap it up for the first part of the third module, as we learn all about tying up the navigation and making the navigation work for our website.